Hi guys, welcome to today's video. In today's video, it is going to be first impressions of the Philippines. Well, I guess I'll give you some background first. So I have known about the Philippines for about 8 years before I actually went on this trip. And I had a lot of assumptions. My first assumption was that everything was flat, because I came from some very flat states. I was spent a long time before going to the Philippines in Florida. Florida is about as flat as a billiard table. Come on, there's no mountains in Florida at all. Nothing. So my brain naturally thought that the Philippines was just flat as a pancake. But I was wrong in that section, in that way. And yeah, when I landed in the Philippines, it was pitch black. And when you land in any country in the middle of the night, there's nothing to see. Your senses are starting to come back. And I realized it was a very hot, a very crowded place. Manila is very, very hot and crowded, as you know. The first thing that got me was the number of motorbikes. Over here in the US, you see a motorbike, that's probably 1 in 10 vehicles is a motorbike. In the Philippines, almost everyone's on a motorbike, and there's a few cars sprinkled in, but it's mostly motorbikes everywhere doing the craziest things possible. First thing I saw was someone coming home from the airport on the back of a motorbike with a suitcase tied on their back. A full-size, Czech suitcase tied on their back, and the driver was driving. This woman was sitting in the middle on the way back from the airport, and it was complete chaos, as you know, and all the motorbikes were, going all different directions. There was no real traffic laws or anything, but I actually liked it, but it was very confusing because now I'm in this strange place in the middle of the night. It's completely dark out. There's motorbikes absolutely everywhere. And all the traffic's just jam-packed, solid. It was just a surreal experience. And I remember we went to a McDonald's, and I remember sitting down at the McDonald's, eating, and I was kind of pinching myself. I was like, wow, this is it. I am really in the Philippines now. It took me so long to get here. I never thought I'd ever be here. And now, wow, I'm actually here. It was an amazing experience. It's like the experience of landing on another planet, basically, because it's a place you'd never think you'd go to, and all of a sudden you're sitting there and you're there. Travel is an amazing thing, really. It was a phenomenal experience to actually be there. But at that point, I had not seen any of the country, because remember, it's just blackout. I hadn't even seen my first sunrise at that point. It was dark, and it seemed like it was a night that went on forever. I don't know how long it was, probably because of the jet lag or something, but that night seemed to carry on forever and ever and ever. One thing I do remember is I got out of the van at one point, I looked up, and all the stars were different. Because I'm used to, you used to once have seen one set of stars in the US, and I looked up, and the night sky, it was absolutely filled with stars. It was absolutely beautiful, because it was a fairly remote location. It was beautiful. It was absolutely filled with stars, and everything looked different. I was like, wow, I'm really here. Thank you for this moment. That was one of the amazing moments of the trip. Just looking up to the sky for the first time after a few hours after we landed, I think. But I hadn't even had my first sunrise at that point. And I can never forget the first sunrise. We were going up the freeway, and it started to get twilight out, and then the sun started to rise over the rice fields, and it was just beautiful. I could see the mountains and the volcano in the background, and I looked around. That was a beautiful experience. The first sunrise in the Philippines, I was like, wow, I did it. I'm here. It was amazing. It was still. It still makes me emotional. Then we finally got out to the province, and I used to always make these jokes before I went out to the Philippines about goats wandering around and chickens are wandering around and stuff like that, and I wasn't. That was guesswork on my part, and I wasn't really wrong with that. I found that there are As you go into the province, there are several layers, shall we say. First, there is the cow layer, where you have the cows tied up in the field. Then you have the goat layer, where you have all the goats wandering around doing their goat things. And finally, when you get closer into the city, you have the chicken layer, where all the chickens are wandering around. So you have these like 3 layers to get into the province, which is pretty amusing, yeah. But it was kind of comical, yeah. You don't expect to see a cow tied up between 2 houses. You know, that's not a thing you see in the US or very often, and you don't see you definitely don't see goats wandering around too often. You know, the first time I saw a goat wandering across the street, I thought it was a dog. I was like, don't hit the asshole, but no, it was a goat. It had horns on it. It was a goat, not a dog, but they look, from a distance, especially when the sun's coming up, they look very, very different, shall we say. But yeah, it was an amazing experience, because the city is completely different to the province. The city, especially if you're in like BGC or one of those places, it's pretty much like every other city. You know, you're in BGC and you could be in, you know, it could be in like Orlando, or it could be in London, or you could be in New York. BGC is like all of those places basically combined. You know, it's just a standard, almost Western city, BGC. You get out of BGC into Manila. Manila's like the craziness of traffic and dirty and everything else. It's craziness. It's fun, but it's crazy at the same time. Then you get into the province, and it's a completely different country again. You go into the province, and there's these animals wandering around. Everybody's very laid back. The driving is nowhere near as crazy. Like I could probably drive in the province easily. Don't ever ask me to drive in Manila. Whatever you do, I will probably start going crazy. So, you know, I could never drive in a city like that, but definitely in a province, it's easy to drive. It's more relaxed. It's, you know, it's more like being in the countryside in any other country in the world, except there's that strange thing of, you know, goats wandering around and things like that, which you don't see generally in a lot of places, I have to say. And lots of chickens doing their chicken things as well. One of the things that amused me as, you know, as a former network engineer and everything, was the standard of wiring on some of the poles, shall we say. I took a picture of some of these crazy wiring jobs where they would there'd literally be 2,000 cables, 2,000 fiber optic cables on a pole. And sometimes there'd be so many cables on the pole would be leaning over and snapped. Like, I don't get it. And other times there'd be like, you know, live wires hanging down and stuff like that. It's a case of, you know, if it works, they leave it alone. It doesn't have to look good. Whereas in the US, if you did something like that in the US or any Western country, you'd probably pick up a ton of fines from the government, and you'd probably never work again. But, you know, that's kind of amused me, is the way they were setting up the communication stuff over there. It was pretty... you get a as an engineer, you get a chuckle from seeing things like that. But then I also get their way of thinking. If it works, it works. Don't mess with it. It doesn't have to look good. It doesn't have to work 100% of the time. It just has to work 99% of the time, and everybody's going to be happy, right? I get it. One thing that got me with the first meal was the rice. The rice is completely different. Like over here in the US, I can eat rice and I may eat a cup of rice, maybe half a cup. It's not that. The rice isn't that good. You get the Philippines, there's something special about that rice. It just tastes better, the texture is better, it feels better. I can eat rice forever in the Philippines. Over here, I eat cup, maybe half a cup, and I'm done. In the Philippines, I could eat rice all day, basically. And I think this is, and I talk to Rosa about this, and it's because the rice is fresh. The rice came out of the field, you know, not long ago. It hasn't been stored and moved around and whatever else they do here in the US. No, it's fresh. And I think that's one of the benefits of living over there, is things are fresh, things are natural. They don't have as much processed garbage that you have over here in the West. No, because this stuff came out of the farm yesterday. If you're using an egg, the egg probably came out of the chicken yesterday. You know, it's natural. It's the way things should be, not the way we've made things over here, really. So yeah, the food tastes a lot better over there. That's one thing. Also, the people are really happy, and there isn't the materialistic, grabbing like you get here in the US, where everybody wants a one up, and if you don't have the fastest internet or the fastest cell phone, you're going to be complaining, it's going to be hard to pay. No, they have people over there are living in, basically concrete huts with no window and a wooden door, and they're happy. And let that sink in. They're happy. They don't have all this stuff we have over here. They don't have all this amazing technology. They don't have the latest and greatest. They have the basics, and they're happy. They're happy to just exist. That is one thing that we're missing out of in a lot of Western countries. We find happiness in things rather than situations. In the Philippines, they find happiness in the situation. The situation is that they live to see another day. That's the situation. That's where they draw their happiness from. Over here in the US, people are drawing happiness from buying their latest car or buying their latest iPhone or buying this or buying that or buying the other thing. That's a very empty way to buy happiness, shall we? Because you're never going to be happy. You can buy everything in the world and you're never going to be happy. But if you base your happiness on the fact that you are alive another day, it's a lot easier to be happy. And they're very grateful. The people over there are very grateful for the little they have, and they're very happy for the little they have. I think that's an amazing thing, which I think the rest of the world needs to embrace. I think if the rest of the world was like that, the world would be a much better place. Another thing is, I always felt safe over there. Always felt safe. Yeah, I've heard the stories about kidnappings over there and other crazy stuff going on, but I never felt that over there. I felt 100% safe. I felt the people were very friendly, very welcoming, and I didn't feel threatened anytime I was over there. I didn't feel threatened at all. It was a beautiful country. I think it was an absolute wonderful country, and these stories people propagate about all these bad things. Okay, bad things happen in every country, but I don't think it's especially isolated to the Philippines. I understand that there are probably some people in the country that are desperate, and they probably do desperate things. But the exact same thing happens over here in the US. If you go to the wrong neighborhood, yeah, you're probably going to get robbed, and there's probably desperate people there who are going to do desperate things. Probably just a few miles from where I am right now, there's a good chance that bad stuff's happening. It's not just the country, that happens everywhere. And I always felt safer in the Philippines, and I never really saw that many police around or anything like that. But everybody was just friendly, and it was easygoing, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, it's going on for a little bit here. This is a long video, guys. The other thing that surprised me is that the winds changed direction one day I was over there. So, it's usually a beautiful sunny day. And then one day the wind changed direction and the sky turned orange. The sun was like this orange blob in the sky. And it was pollution, because the wind changed and the wind was now blowing up from Manila. And when you have a few million Yamaha motorcycles buzzing away down there, guess what happens to the air quality? It is crap. Okay, so if you have asthma or something like that and the wind changes direction, yeah, you're going to be in a little bit of a situation there. And I didn't like that too much, to be honest with you. And I could, when the wind changed direction, I could taste the air. I could just, it tasted like exhaust fumes. It was just, ugh. But that's not normal for the province. Obviously, the province is very laid back and there's not that much traffic up there. It's just when the wind changes direction, maybe something happens with the humidity, it kind of traps in the pollution, and then, you're stuck with a very, very orange sky. And if you look outside and the sky's orange, you know it's going to be a bad day up there because you're going to be stuck in some pollution. Maybe you should stay inside or put a mask on or something to help out. I don't know. Anyway, I probably have a lot more to say, but I'm gonna call it quits here because it's a pretty long video. Click down there, like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you again soon.